Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to McNulty's Book Corral. And boy, I've got some good books today. This is a bonus Halloween episode. And I've already filmed my regular annual Halloween episode, and that you'll see in a couple of days. But you know how it is. I get stuff. And when I get stuff that I like to share it, and maybe you'll find it too. All right, so good news. We have a UK comic book series that is reprinted, yet another one of those, but this one is easily found here in the States on Amazon. And guess what it is? It is the Commando comics, which is a war comic. It's called The Fear Files. This is volume 1. And this is really unique because this reprints 4 of the Commando comics. Again, these are war comics, but they're supernatural. They have a Halloween type theme. So they've released it, and this is volume 1, so there's going to be more. These are black and white comics. These are digest comics, like I've been talking about. Easily found on Amazon. Beautiful edition. These are black and white. And by coincidence, the first one they reprint, and the one that you have the cover is this one, which I also actually have this. This is Commando number 984 from, what was it, 75 or so. So I actually have the original of the first one reprinted here. I don't have the other 3, so I'm really happy to get this collection. I used to subscribe to Commando comics a couple of years back, and I had to stop because the United States Post Office kept losing the packet. And, of course, I would report the loss to Thompson Publications, and they would send a replacement, which I would mostly receive, but then I started not getting those. And that's the fault of the United States Postal Service. So I simply didn't let my subscription renew, which is a shame because I love Commando comics. It is still being published today. It is the only war comic being published in the United Kingdom or anywhere. Is there anything being done here? I'm waiting for DC to reprint Sergeant Rock, which I understand they'll be doing next year. Commando comics are great. They have a couple of these reprint series out there if you're interested. They've reprinted the Warlord series. Warlord is Lord Peter Flint, and this is a more recent one. He's a SAS guy, I believe, and he's a cool guy. He's kind of like a cross between James Bond and all of the other secret agents. Really great comic. So this is from 2019. So this is number 5,263. There are tons of Commando comics out there. I don't know where they're at this year. Are they at 7,000 yet? I wouldn't be surprised if they were. So Commando comics, okay, great stuff to get them. Hard to get here in the United States. I had a hard time finding them in the UK. You know, I don't know. It is what it is. But these great collections are out there, and I'm really happy about that. For Halloween, The Fear Files, Volume 1, I will be looking forward to Volume 2 of The Fear Files from Commando Comics, which is Thompson Publishers out there in the UK. I've tried to visit their office on Fleet Street there in 2019 when I was in London, and I actually walked in. The office is not hard to find, and I was told by a receptionist who was a temp staff that they were all out to lunch for the afternoon, so I didn't get to talk to anybody. Anyways, great comic book series. Okay, so that one's out there to find. And then DC Comics really surprised me. DC Finest, the series that I'm collecting some, but not all of them. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have about 8 of them, including this. They did a reprint called Horror: The Devil's Doorway, which features the House of Mystery, House of Secrets, Unexpected, and The Witching Hour. I am a fan of their House of Mystery series, which I have a nice stack of those, and some of the others too. DC horror comics were really good. So they reprint. These are from 69 and 70. I think they could have gone back further, but, they're doing what they do. At least they're doing it. So I'm giving them credit for doing this. And, you get a really good selection of artists on here. Obviously, you're going to get Neil Adams. You're going to get Robert Kanigher, was the writer, Marv Wolfman, Joe Orlando. You're going to get Bernie Wrightson. And who else here? We have Murphy Anderson and Sid Green and all sorts of cool people. Jerry Conway, the writer, is represented here. Quite a few Neil Adams. This cover is a Neil Adams, which is not the best cover that they could have picked for this edition. A really good cover is on the back here. That Neil Adams did. They'd have a couple of these. They could have done a better job, but it's DC doing what they're trying to do, and I have to support that because this is the best stuff on the market. The transfers to a cleaned up print with these books is really nice, really nicely done, retaining the primary colors of the original. And I think they're great. I think it's a really great series. So if DC Comics is going to do this, which I recommend you get this for Halloween, these are really fun to read. By the way, some of these are comedic. This is when comic books, 1969, 1970, DC Comics were still geared toward younger readers. They are not geared toward younger readers today. They're geared toward a presumably adult collector's market. Everything is a collector's item, which of course they're not. But this is when they were for younger readers. But they're still quite good. They do have a spooky tone to them, sometimes a horrific tone. Nothing that should give the kids nightmares. I loved the comic in the 60s. I collected it for years, and it's great. So anyways, if DC Comics is going to do this, you know where I'm going with this, right? They have so much in their files. I'm glad they're doing this. So if they see this, hey, you guys, keep doing more of this. There's more to your company than superhero comics, honestly. They did do a science fiction DC Finest, which I have over there, and that was quite good as well. If they're going to do that, this series, in this particular issue, this is Tomahawk, what is it, 101? No, 103. Tomahawk 103, Frankenstein. Tomahawk was a frontier comic. It was not a Western comic. It took place during the Revolutionary War. The Tomahawk character was kind of a fictionalized version of Daniel Boone and other type of frontier guys wearing buckskin. In that series, transformed in the 1960s, quite early actually, late 50s into the 60s, into a science fiction supernatural type weird comic book that today has really, I would have to say, cult following, of which I count myself among them, because it was so damn good. And I'm telling you, if they would just get off the stick over there at DC, and they're trying. Again, I'm going to try and be nice to DC because I see an effort being made here with the DC's Finest to get out something that's a little better than these $100 big fat hardcovers. And put out a variety of books in going beyond the superhero stuff, because there's so much to DC's files than superhero, really. And here you go, right here, Tomahawk, one of my favorites. Okay, real quick, I'm going to wrap this up quick. So I just wanted to talk about a couple of others, that are favorites. So let's talk about the classic. Everybody's familiar with Classics Illustrated, which did the Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. This is the Norm Saunders cover, and which is quite well known. Norm Saunders was a prominent artist during the pulp era, the golden age of pulps, and there are books about Norm Saunders out there. So this is probably the most common one that people look for. But Classics Illustrated, and this is the 1945 edition, they had a different cover. I don't know. What I don't know is how long this cover stayed on the book. I'm assuming this is the original cover because the copyright date I have inside of here is 1945. And then this would have been much later, maybe the 1950s. Maybe within a decade they changed to Norm Saunders. If anybody has that specific information, please feel free to politely use the comments down below, and I will be eternally grateful. Anyways, I always got a kick out of the fact that Classics Illustrated did two versions of Frankenstein. Obviously, this was a best-selling comic. I believe there is a high-quality reprint of this out there. Classics comics have been reprinted. Individual issues have been reprinted, and I have a couple of those. I don't have the Frankenstein yet. All right, then we get to Dell. I loved the Dell Frankenstein. All right, so Dell did a series of comics with covers and stories that were loosely inspired by the Universal horror film series. Obviously, this looks like Karloff, and they did this. This is the best of all of them, I thought. Although I don't know if I've ever read the Dracula because I don't have it. I do have the Wolfman. All right, so I've got the Wolfman here for you. And whoops, and that's great. The Wolfman is cool, but they also did the Creature from the Black Lagoon. They did Dracula, which is the one that's really expensive on the aftermarket, and then they did the Mummy. I remember reading the Creature and the Mummy because my neighbor, when we were kids, in the 60s, we'd all get together in our forts or the back stoop, and we would read comics, and we would, right there in the afternoon, on a Saturday afternoon, we'd swap them and read them and talk about them all day. So this is a habit unknown to current generations who don't do any of that stuff. Everything's electronic. I know I'm dating myself. Anyways, it was fun, and I don't remember ever reading the Dracula one. The Dracula one, when you look it up on eBay, it's always expensive generally, and it has the best cover of all of them. Although the Frankenstein cover is pretty good, too. I only have these two. So just a little bonus horror comic episode for McNulty's Book Corral here today. And I hope you enjoyed that. I have a feeling some of you are quite familiar with some of this material. In the meantime, remember to keep up your efforts to preserve the Union. United we stand, divided we fall. No kings, no tyrants. Stay well, my friends. Stay happy. Feed your beautiful minds. Read a book.